Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly supply chain overview. My name is Eric Adamczyk, and I'm joined by my fellow meteorologist, Eli Taraski. So for this week, the risk score for the entire lower 48 is green here. So we don't expect any major supply chain disruptions here as we look out through the remainder of this week on and through this weekend. So let's dive a little bit more so into the details here first to see where we might expect some more minor supply chain disruptions here, if any at all. So first, we'll take a look at airports here. We don't actually have any high risk airports as of this time. We do Denver Airport, on the other hand, is scoring orange here just due to there's some minor snow there today, which we'll talk about here momentarily. So from a port standpoint, the only port here this week that's scoring high risk or red is actually the port of Galveston. So Galveston will actually see they'll see some elevated winds here later today, gusting up to about 45 miles an hour. So that possibly could impact some crane operations there here later today. And then from an intermodal hub standpoint or rail standpoint here, Atlanta, Springfield, Massachusetts, and Winnipeg. Those all are also scoring high risk today, just due to elevated wind gusts, getting up to about 40 miles an hour. Those wind gusts will impact Winnipeg here later today, while Atlanta and Springfield will see those wind gust impacts here coming up on Thursday, which will be associated with a storm system that's moving through the region, which we'll talk about here momentarily. But before we do that, let's take a look at the wind gust map here and see where we might have any other sort of wind impacts as we go through the next 7 days. So first and foremost, we'll kind of hone in here on the center of the country here, the central and northern plains, where we do see some of the pink shading there. That's indicating wind gusts here that are getting up and above 50 miles an hour here. So, and again, these wind gusts are expected to occur today in both of those regions here in North Dakota and in Nebraska and in portions of Kansas. And the interstates that will be impacted by these winds here in the central plains is I-80 through Nebraska, and as well as I-70 through Kansas. And then further north here, getting up into North Dakota, there'll be I-94 there that's impacted by those wind gusts here today. So moving forward, we'll now take a look at, shift the focus here toward precipitation, and we'll actually take a look at the snowfall forecast upcoming. So we're now in late March here and very quickly moving on into early April. Still do have some snow here in the forecast, but they'll be winding up, pretty shortly here. The first zone that we'll focus on here is actually in the portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So coming up here later this week, the snow in this zone here will actually start to occur very early on Thursday morning in portions of West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Then the snow will spread northward throughout the day across portions of central and northern New York and adjacent southeast Canada here. So the highest totals that we are expecting from this storm system will be located in central and northern New York, as well as southeast Canada. And we will see totals here. It's a pretty decent late season storm. So we'll see totals on the order of about 4, maybe up to as much as 8 inches in some of the higher elevations here with this system. The primary interstates here in the United States that will be impacted is I-90 through central New York, also I-81 that runs through central New York as well. I-80 in Pennsylvania will also see some snow as well, probably on the order of a few inches here. So we don't expect any major impacts to transportation, but when all said and done here, we could see some slower traffic or travel here on I-80 on Thursday morning. And last and certainly not least here, Montreal will see approximately about 15 to 20 centimeters of snow. That will primarily occur in the afternoon on Thursday and basically run through Thursday night there. And the last thing that we will mention here from a snow standpoint is actually the snow that's actually ongoing in the Denver area here today. As we can see, it's actually a very we're not expecting a whole lot of snow here from an accumulation standpoint, on the order of 1 to 2 inches here. So that's why we did see in the earlier slide that the risk score is slightly elevated to medium risk here at the Denver International Airport. So we could see some minor delays there today as a result of those few inches of snow. So now let's shift focus and we'll take a look at rainfall here and any potential flooding that it could occur here coming up over the next few days. So basically the main takeaway when we look out through the remainder of the week and over the weekend is that the zones that have been active from a rainfall standpoint over the past week will continue to be active this week. So we will see rain start again here late tonight in portions of the mid and lower Mississippi River Delta here. And that will actually extend basically eastward through Tennessee, portions of Kentucky here as we go through tonight on through the day tomorrow here. And this will actually, the rains, we did actually have very heavy rains within the same exact zone here over the past weekend that did result in some localized flooding, particularly around the Nashville area. So we'll take a look here at what the impacts will be from a flooding standpoint. So we'll do a little comparison here initially. These were the flood, these were all the different gauges here that either were at minor flooding stage or above as of last week. So we had about 73 locations that were at least at the minor flood stage. And now this week, we do see that we do have we're somewhere about 95 locations here. They're either at or above minor flooding stage. And if we kind of hone in on the area basically in western Tennessee and central Tennessee, we do see that we have quite a few gauges that are either at minor or moderate level. So we do expect this area where we do see these minor and moderate, flooding to this point here, we would expect that to be exacerbated by the rains that are coming here tonight and on into tomorrow. So all in all, kind of what does that mean here? Is we don't see this as being more of a widespread flooding event that would cause major disruptions to the supply chain, but you could see some more localized impacts here on roadways with the upcoming rain event. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eli.
Thanks, Eric. So we'll turn it over to temperatures now. So looking at this week, definitely going to be a pretty big change from some of the widespread warmth that was present across much of the Midwest and East at the end of last week, with a lot of locations in the Northeast last week getting up into the low 80s, which is very, very warm for this time of year. So coming up here, starting tomorrow, a cold front is going to be moving from the plains into the Midwest. So the Midwest is going to be cooling down starting tomorrow, and then that'll move into the Northeast by Thursday. And it's going to be cold enough to bring about some moderate PFF requirements. Temperatures at night will be dropping into the mid 20s. For a couple nights across much of the Midwest and the Northeast. And so, that'll kind of warm back up west to east. So we'll expect, cooler nights tonight and tomorrow night and Thursday night in the Midwest. And then in the Northeast, it'll be more focused on Thursday night, Saturday night, or Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, excuse me, where we would expect the enhanced PFF, basically for the next 4 or 5 days for the mid and eastern portions of the country. Out west and in the plains, it's going to be fairly warm. Shifting to week 2, though, we see big changes again in the warmer direction. So once we get past essentially this cool blast that's coming up late this week, all signs point to widespread warmth across the central and eastern U.S. With significantly suppressed PFF requirements. We can't rule out that this is the last time that a lot of the central and eastern U.S. gets below freezing, but that becomes less and less likely the deeper we get into spring. And after we get past this little cool shot, there's very little chance of any freezes going through about mid-April. So you know the chances of an additional freeze are dramatically decreasing after this week. But you can't always rule it out, especially across portions of like northern New England and higher elevations out west. So while the central and eastern U.S. goes warm, the west will go cooler. So there could be some PFF enhancements out west, especially at higher elevations. But the majority of the country will be warm. So if we take a look at the coldest temperatures here, so this is over the next week, we can see that 32 line is now draped, much further south than it has been over the past 2 weeks or so, and down all the way down into like northern Georgia and Alabama. This is pretty far south for this time of year into the Carolinas. The average low temperature even in like Chicago around this time of year is close to 32. So down by Atlanta, it's certainly well above 32 at this time of year. So definitely an anomalous little event. Bringing even some 15s into the higher elevations in New York and Pennsylvania, especially where snow has just fallen. So it will be a notable late winter, early spring cool shot. But the big news is that it's transient, it's quick. It's just a few days, and then we kind of get back to widespread warmth. And then looking out west, just the higher elevations really going to be focused with the coolness. Plenty of areas still below 15 over the next 5 days, and would expect that in the high elevations with lots of snow. So if you look at the lane analysis here, not really much change from last week. We didn't add or decrease any of our red interstates, our high risk. We gained a bunch of orange risk, medium risk, and that's due to that cold shot kind of trending stronger compared to our last webinar. And so we lost all those in the green section. But a lot of these will be shifting right back green by next week. So by next week, we would expect a lot of these medium ones to drop off back to the low risk. And these high ones will probably stick around for another couple weeks, as these are primarily through the higher elevations out west, like I-84, I-90, I-70, I-80, etc. The bottom line is, enhance PFF, the next several days, and then decreasing after that. Well, finally, let's wrap up here with just a quick global highlight. In general, the globe and even the U.S. weather-wise this week is quite quiet. There's not a lot going on. One thing to monitor, though, that we're watching here is the potential for some tropical cyclone formation in the eastern Indian Ocean. So this is India over here, and then you have like Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia on this side of the map. And this image is showing clouds, and so there's like some disturbed area of thunderstorms here that is trying to organize into a weak tropical system. Right now, it looks as if though the chances for formation are fairly low. So this will likely end up being just a cluster of thunderstorms as it eventually comes shore farther northeast. But there is the possibility that this could form into a weak tropical depression or tropical storm, with winds of 30 or 40 or 50 miles per hour or something like that. We're not expecting a major storm to form, a major hurricane or anything like that. So the high end is definitely a weak storm, and then the low end is that it just stays as a cluster of thunderstorms. It just kind of delivers locally heavy rain and some gusty winds into this area in the eastern Indian Ocean. Otherwise, across the globe, though, there's really not a lot going on. Really quiet weather elsewhere. In recent weeks we've talked about the Australia flooding, but that has since receded, and there's no issues there at this point anymore. So, in summary, overall risk this week across the U.S. Specifically is green, and we would say across the globe, it's pretty green as well. The only things to monitor this week, US wise, will be the snow this Thursday across Pennsylvania and New York, and then a couple of the regional strong winds across the plains, kind of today and tomorrow, but nothing too crazy. In terms of temperatures, we discussed the cool blast that'll be late this week. But after that, everything looks to turn warmer, especially across the central and eastern United States, well into mid-April. In terms of impacts, there could be some minor slowdowns across Pennsylvania and New York, just due to that snow. Maybe some periodic disruptions in flights, but that's about it. And then in terms of PFF, will be definitely enhanced this week thanks to that late season cool blast, but then significantly suppressed afterwards. And then finally, the global highlights. As we discussed, not much going on, but are watching for the potential formation of a tropical system there in the eastern Indian Ocean. So we thank you for coming to this week's supply chain webinar. As always, if you need more information or need to contact us, please head to our website at everstream.ai. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.